In Santa Clara, the loudest details do not always come from the play that draws the biggest reaction. Sometimes they show up in who keeps getting praised, who earns a veteran's trust, and especially who suddenly stops taking the field. Faithful, lock in. Today we're going behind the scenes to find out why a rookie is changing the conversation on offense, how an old nightmare became an ally, and why the defensive rotation has already reached an uncomfortable point before the season even starts. There is real excitement here, but there is also a warning that demands an answer. Hit like and come read the room with me. Stribbling entered camp as a name everyone inside the building needed to watch closely. The April pick divided people, turning every rookie rep into a public audit. Did the 49ers see something part of the league missed? 1 week in, the internal answer is starting to sound too consistent to brush aside. Reporters keep highlighting the wideout's performance, and the praise has already moved beyond the sideline to people working with him daily. Chris Forster, serving as acting head coach, went beyond the polite compliment coaches give rookies. He said he loves Stribbling, then highlighted the young receiver's maturity, command of the playbook and formations, speed, physicality, and hands. Forster said everything scouts and position coaches identified on tape is appearing on the field. He applied the right break too. It is early, and Stribbling still has a long way to go. But behind the scenes, the range of words used to describe him matters. Nobody names that many specific traits when they are just trying to be nice. Mike Evans strengthened the signal from a different angle. Asked who had caught his attention, the veteran immediately named Stribbling and pointed out that the strong work did not begin this week. It started during the offseason, carried through OTAs, and has continued into training camp. Evans did not oversell it or hand the rookie a starting job. That is leadership. Even so, the name he volunteered tells us who is building credit inside that receiver room. That progress carries extra weight in San Francisco because this offense demands so much before the ball ever arrives. A young receiver has to recognize formations, adjust his alignment, understand the motion, and nail details that can wreck a play when they happen half a second late. Rookies often look fast until the system forces them to think. So far, Stribbling is playing without letting the complexity erase his physical tools. Now comes the phase the staff probably wanted from the start: full pads, contact, and discomfort. Running clean in July creates pretty clips. Staying locked in when Fred Warner or Dre Greenlaw can arrive violently in space tests a receiver in a completely different way. A route will be wrong, a ball will hit the ground, contact will win a rep. There will be a practice when the praise disappears. None of that would erase this start. It may be exactly what completes the evaluation. The best sign is not that Stribbling looks perfect. It is that he has built enough margin to face his first setback without immediately losing the trust of the people assigning reps. If he absorbs the bad days as quickly as he absorbed the playbook, a polarizing pick starts becoming a legitimate answer. And our next clue comes from a veteran whose greatest calling card has always been forcing opponents to reorganize their entire plan. Raheem Morris spent far too long searching for an answer to Deebo Samuel. Now he can admit how he felt without hiding behind a managed press conference. He hated facing that man. The 49ers' new defensive coordinator used that exact word about Deebo's return, adding that a friendly environment feels much better. No shot intended. It was the kind of respect that only surfaces after years of building game plans and watching the same problem escape them. Their paths crossed repeatedly while Morris ran the Rams' defense from 2021 through 2023. He then spent 2 seasons leading the Falcons, still in the NFC. In all, Deebo has faced Morris-linked defenses 7 times in the regular season. He produced 471 receiving yards and 3 touchdown catches, then added 138 rushing yards and 3 more scores on the ground. Those numbers explain why Morris could never treat his presence like that of a normal wide receiver. Morris described the tactical nightmare in clear terms. Deebo can come out of the backfield, line up at receiver, catch a screen, run the football, and even affect special teams. Every shift in location forces a defense to declare its coverage, change personnel, or live with an uncomfortable matchup. One memory remains stuck in the coach's head. Morris recalled a play in 2022 when his defense should have intercepted the pass, but Deebo came away with the ball and took it roughly 60 yards. The highlight ran so often that, according to Morris, watching ESPN that summer became painful. That testimony carries more weight than nostalgia. The building now has a coach who can explain to his own defense how Deebo bends decisions before the snap, while also understanding from experience the line between respecting the player and surrendering too much space. The message to the offense is just as strong. This veteran still carries a reputation built against coordinators who had to locate him on every single play. None of this automatically promises the most explosive version of Deebo's career. At 30, he still has to prove how much of that multiplicity can translate into production today. But the backroom dynamic has flipped. One of the men who hated preparing a defense for him now works toward the same goal. When a former opponent feels relieved to see you walking the same hallway, that respect is not decoration. It is information. Practice then delivered an image that silences every lighthearted July conversation. Mikhail Kamara left the field on a cart. Matt Barrows of The Athletic reported an apparent leg or knee issue for the undrafted rookie pass rusher. That scene alone cannot responsibly determine the severity. San Francisco cannot evaluate this moment against a fully stocked roster. It belongs inside a position group already running out of bodies. But faithful, this is the part nobody should ignore. Kamara went down with Cam Sample sidelined by a knee injury, Nick Bosa yet to practice, and Michael Williams on PUP. At another position, an August absence might create more reps for the backups. On the edge, every missing name changes the rotation, weakens practice matchups, and adds work for whoever remains. Kamara needed this camp because he arrived without the security of being a draft pick. For an undrafted free agent, reps are not only about development. They are the opportunity to convince the staff that a roster spot exists for him. Being carted away at this point is cruel even before any diagnosis, because it interrupts his chance to keep stacking evidence. His medical history makes the wait even more uncomfortable. Season-ending injuries cost Kamara both the 2021 and 2022 college seasons. At James Madison, he also dealt with a torn shoulder labrum and multiple high ankle sprains. His past does not automatically define what happened this time. An earlier injury does not turn every fall into a repeat of the worst possible outcome. The medical staff has to consider that history while deciding the pace of testing, recovery, and any eventual return. The front office has to work along two tracks at once: hope for encouraging news for the player, and calculate how to sustain the pass rush if he cannot come back quickly. That second responsibility reaches straight into the identity of the 49ers. This system should not depend on one defender playing every down. Pressure works best in waves, with fresh legs, different assignments, and enough variety to attack the weak point in a protection. When bodies disappear, the coordinator loses the freedom to alternate speed and power. A starter takes on more wear. A backup gets more work than planned. The opposing quarterback starts getting clues about who will be coming. Camp carries another consequence that rarely gets seen. An offensive line improves by facing pass rushers capable of threatening its technique. A young edge develops when he can watch Bosa, compete for a role, and receive an assignment that fits his stage of growth. If the line gets too short, practice stops simulating the rotation the team wants during the season and becomes an exercise in simply finishing the reps. For Kamara, the first demand is care and information, not speed. For the 49ers, the parallel obligation is refusing to confuse hope with depth. The cart carried one player away. The attendance sheet was about to show that this problem stretched far beyond one injury. Keon White and Romello Height also missed Saturday's practice. In Height's case, there was real relief. He had recently been carted off, but the team clarified that he was only dealing with cramps. White requires a little more caution. The defender sat out with an adductor issue, an area near the groin that has appeared in his medical history before. In 2024, while he was still with the Patriots, White landed on the injury report several times with groin designations. That does not turn his current absence into a long-term injury. It also cannot be treated like an isolated detail. With White out at the same time Kamara, Sample, Bosa, and Williams are unavailable, the practice math becomes brutal. Sam Okuayinonu and KJ Henry were the only two healthy players left at the position. Defensive tackle Kevin Givens had to take snaps on the edge just so the session could continue. That kind of improvisation reveals the true condition of a group better than any July depth chart. Givens stepping in shows versatility and a team-first mentality, but moving a tackle outside cannot become the regular design for a defense that expects to hunt quarterbacks in January. Every adjustment costs something. One player works outside his natural role, another position loses depth. The installation starts following availability instead of the ideal development plan. Behind closed doors, the next sequence is straightforward. The team needs to learn how much time White might miss, monitor Kamara without rushing to a conclusion, and understand when Bosa and Williams can enter the rotation. The roster response depends on those timelines. If the absences are brief, managing workloads may be enough. If they begin to overlap, John Lynch will have to explore reinforcements, because spending weeks with two healthy edge rushers is not patience. It is exposure. I want to open our war room in the comments. If you were making the call in Santa Clara today, would you pursue a veteran immediately, or wait for the test results before changing the roster? My move would be to map the market now without signing anyone out of panic, so the search does not begin only after everyone knows the 49ers have to buy. That difference matters. Preparing an alternative protects your leverage. Reacting late hands that leverage to the agents. White could return quickly. Height may retake his spot after the cramps. Kamara could still receive better news than the scene suggested. But contending does not mean betting that every scenario will break right at the same time. It means building margin before the calendar sends the bill. Improvising through one practice is competence. Turning improvisation into the plan would be negligence. The picture in Santa Clara is being pulled in two different directions. Stribbling is building trust. Deebo is earning respect from Morris, the coach who suffered trying to stop him. But the edge room loses more margin with every absence. The message from inside the building is direct. Talent creates possibilities. Depth keeps them alive. San Francisco must develop the rookie without crowning him, use the veteran's versatility without living in the past, and protect its pass rush before improvisation becomes routine. Faithful, let me know where you stand. Which side carries more weight today? The excitement around the offense or the red alert on defense? Subscribe to 49ers Express and come back tomorrow. Every detail matters here.